सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारंभं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। वसुदेवं सुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं. हरि ओम. Can someone recollect what is it that we have seen? Anything? Yes, please. Yes, please. So we found the link and we can move ahead. Anybody? Anything, any point that we saw yesterday. Please feel free. Yes, Chaitanya. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yesterday we talked. Yesterday Shri Krishna said talked about karmas, that karmas cannot be avoided. So karma and karma bandhanas are kind of your default setting from Prakriti. So they will be always there. Action is always better than passive inaction. I mean, if you don't do karmas, of course you can't claim to have not attached to anything, or because you karma is part of, I mean, you have to do them. So if you are not doing it, it is not the way to say that I'm not attached to it and I'm free from it. uh, it's and then he talked about yoga being about transcending. It's not about forcefully or rigidly doing something. It has to come from inside, and it may be a slow process. So if you can have a harsh discipline from outside, but if from within it is not changing, then it's not really a yoga. Then I think we talked about sacrifice. Sacrifice, Brahma created a Srishti from some sacrifice that I think we will see later. But and because of it, the sacrifice is essential for progression, and that is the way person is going to go ahead on the path of higher consciousness. So we need to do sacrifice, and that too by experiencing the joy, not forcefully, not thinking about that I have to. I mean, I just need to do it by for sake of doing it. So yeah, uh, because they also kind of offer, I mean, they also make sure that you don't get caught up in the attachments or karma bandhanas that you're doing. So yeah, sacrifice is important. And there was also, we talked about we do the sacrifice, then God gives us blessing in turn, and that we have to use even for betterment of everyone, and then I offer it back to the divine. So that way there is, give and take. And also, I mean, tera tujhko arpan, we can say. That is how it should work. You cannot be selfish and keep everything for yourself. So yeah.
Yes, that was very beautifully summarized, all the shlokas. And indeed, so Krishna is introducing a kind of a siddhi. Siddhi is like a higher state where you are performing something which is remarkable. We can say, Hanumanji had a Sakala Siddhi, we can say. So, but this Siddhi that he's talking about is something called Naishkarmya Siddhi in the Karma Yoga Marg, meaning you are going to perform karma, and yet the karmas will not bind you. Now, this is also the essence of the Upanishads. This siddhi, meaning, and for a youngster, it would be like I can eat all the junk food and not have any problem. I'm not adding any calorie also, and nothing, no indigestion issues or anything like that. So then somebody will say, "Wow, how is that possible? Is it even possible?" Unfortunately, that's not possible. But Naishkarma Siddhi is possible, meaning you perform your karma and yet not get trapped in the flux of the karma. Such people, when they perform their actions, no new sanskaras are also created. The Upanishad says we have to do karma only. You see, the Isha Upanishad says for 100 years, Kurvaneveha karmani jijivishechatam samha. How do you do it? By offering to the divine, as if it's a yajna, swaha, offered to the divine. Why? The next line of that same second verse of Isha Upanishad says, एवं त्वयि नान्यथेतोस्ति न कर्म लिप्यते नरे. It is only then that the karma will not attach to a person. The karma bandhana will not attach to a person. Many times you do some good to somebody, it is something, it is said that let even the left hand not know what the right hand has done. The good that the right hand has done. That is how it should be done. But many times we do something and then we have an expectation. I did it because of this. Now, whether it's a big thing or a small thing, if you can let go of any expectation and you do it just because it needs to be done, you have no idea how wonderful that action is. It has transcendental, benefits for mankind also, and for you also. You don't get trapped. Isn't it nice if imagine if you remember all the things that you do all the time? How will your attitude be? Ah, I did this to this person should not forget that. Always, if you are talking like that, will you like your own company? If you keep reminding, I did this, I did that, a normal person will say you're full of yourself completely. What was so great? Because sometimes people remember even the smallest things I did. I helped my friend. I had given him a t-shirt that he's saying when he gave when he was 30. When is he reminding? When he is 90. It doesn't make a difference at all, isn't it? It's so insignificant in a long life of things. But many times we try to attach credit. We feel insecure if we don't hold on to the credit. But a yogi is that way. As Damliji says, Neki kar, darya mein dal. It's like take a pebble and throw that pebble into the ocean. Can you retrieve that pebble once thrown? No. What happens to the pebble? Now you have to forget only. You cannot search it also. It is something like that. Let your good work be done that way only. Gautam Buddha talked about accumulation of virtue, as if there's a big bhandar or there's a big cauldron where your virtues are getting added and added. Don't count. Keep adding, and one day when it overflows, everybody will know. Well, that is the blossoming of what they call the inner lotus. That happens. It happens naturally. And when it blossoms, you don't have to send an invitation, isn't it? The Brahmas will come directly to that to taste the nectar of that. You don't have to send invitation. Hey, I, the inner lotus, have blossomed. So now I order everybody to come to me. No, it's not required. Same thing with the karmas. Keep doing karmas in this manner with regulation. That's what Krishna is talking about. And this is sacrifice. And not having an expectation is also a sacrifice, which we have to recognize. And this is a sacrifice which is the base or the fundamental aspect of the universe. Nothing can be got without sacrifice. This was the rule the Brahma or the Prajapati put forth while the creation of this Srishti. Krishna goes on. Let us continue.
Shushruji,
Yes,
sorry,
you.
just a question. We have talked about sanskaras. We should not allow
Hmm.
sanskaras to get created, new sanskaras to get created. But can you just elaborate what exactly this means?
Sanskara. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, how do we say? Now, say I am now in Pondicherry. Okay. So, most of the people do speak Tamil. But there are people like me who speak Tamil also, and I have a different language which is a mother tongue. But a sanskara is created that this person is outsider. This person is not outsider. So this is what this is a sanskara, which is a samuhik sanskara, isn't it? And how does the sanskara? How do you remove that? How, because sanskara in Sanskrit, I mean, people say parents have to give good sanskaras to children. Means you are great. They are good sanskaras also. But after a while, my father said this, my mother said this. Can you say that when you become a college student or when you become a very senior person? It's like, Arey, yaar, that is one thing you have to now transcend. And sometimes you have said something wrong, you will have to come out of it also, isn't it? So the sanskaras have to be transcended. That is something. But it is difficult. Like I have worked now 8, 9 years. This one person has received employment because of our unit and everything. So one day I was sitting and asking her how she's a widow. How's your home? How's everything going on? Work was going on naturally. So I just asked her. She said, it is all fine. But my son is very afraid of stepping out. Why? Because this Hindi karas will come and steal his kidney and heart. I was so surprised. I said, what did you know? You see on YouTube, you will find the information. It was there. I said, then I am also Hindikar according to you. She says, yes, yes, but you are different type of Hindikar. Now they don't know Hindi and Marathi is different because that's a sanskara that is created. Sometimes society creates a sanskara on us consciously, cosmically. Everybody in any pranta, why just in Bharat, outside Bharat also, they have this thinking, and that prevents truth from understanding, realizing the truth. That is why say we have to transcend sanskaras, and sometimes you don't have to get trapped. You don't have to get trapped because sometimes there are situations where you don't want to get. You are busy. You have an agenda. You have a life mission. Would you like to get deviated just because of your attachment to somebody else? That cannot happen. So that is karma yoga. And when they do some action, it is generally what happens is there are some karma bandhanas and karmas have consequences also, isn't it? You say a light joke, according to you, you are just making a casual joke on somebody's appearance or somebody's behavior, but you don't know how that person is experiencing it. If the person takes it right, you are lucky it has not created a ripple. But sometimes, if the person experiences it wrong or takes it in the wrong spirit, you have unknowingly, unwittingly created a wrong, false, wrong samskara where now that person's anger will have to come back at you. So, Renuji wants to say something, is it? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Bhaiya. Just I want to add in a very simple statement that samskaras are like emotional conditioning.
Hmm.
So
Yes, yes.
these are kinds of impressions which we create because of emotional conditioning. And
Ah,
emotional conditioning,
impression. That's a nice thing. Good impressions can be good and bad also, isn't
yes.
it?
So both of them create samskaras.
Yes, yes.
Also good and bad, both the impressions create samskaras, and this leads to formation of habits also. Which,
Yes, 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 yes. Yes,
that
that's beautifully said.
affects our consciousness
Yes, yes.
in
And
a
when you
large.
have to go to that highest consciousness, which is free,
Hmm.
you'll have to rise about impressions because impressions will always change with time. I had
Yes,
this impression because, but what we want, patthar ki lakir, not just an impression. We want something which will not change. We want something which is permanent, something which is going to remain, that which is embedded in truth. That will not change. So that is exactly what a yogi looks to. That is why yogis avoid doing so many things. They don't go in, they stop socializing because, no, I do not want to do too much of that. That does not mean socializing is wrong, but for someone, if that is your kshetra, you have to do that in as part of your sadhana. But in general, one of the reasons why people, because you start something and it starts a loop of activities afterwards, which are not required to the main agenda. So yes, please, let us continue. So in the 14th shloka, Krishna, first 13th shloka, he talked about it. He said, yes, so offer what you receive, whatever it is, the talent that has come to you, whatever good that has come to you, offer it to the divine. Somebody who doesn't offer it to the divine eats only what we can say like the prasada is to be distributed among everybody. Whatever you have got, you have to try to make the world a better place. But if you just use it only for yourself, you are going to consume something, but along with that, you are also going to consume more ahankar only inside of you, and you are going to be like what Krishna says, he's a thief and a beggar also, because he's been begging for grace, and now he's stealing the grace that he has received only for self. So that is what Krishna says, and that is not the right way. It is even considered evil or papa. We will later on see in the Gita real meaning. What is Papa? What is Punya? Arjuna kept talking about it, isn't it, in the start? This Papa, that Papa. But Krishna doesn't talk too much of it. Is there's only one Papa and one Punya. That which progresses you, that helps you growing, that helps you move ahead on your path of the realization of spirit, that is Punya. Doing anything that is blocking your realization, that is Papa, as simple as that. But let us continue now. Krishna goes on. He says this sacrifice chain is everywhere. And the sacrifice, that is why yagnas were also done. Even the ritual yagna has its meaning, it has its purpose. If you have participated in a yagna, any of you will experience that while participating in the yagna, when you do it consciously. Every action, right from the mantra to making the arrangement of the Havan Kunda, making the arrangement, collecting the, different ahutis, collecting each and every step is a process of consecration. And when you put that, when you do that, when you offer it, that time Well, the fire is burning in front of you, but in the heart also something rises like that fire when you become conscious. So each of these are symbolic and also having an esoteric meaning or a hidden meaning inside, which has to be understood. Krishna says, we'll continue with the 14th shloka. Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyad anna sambhava yajnad bhavati parjanyo yajnyaha karma samudbhavaha. A beautiful niche of like an ecological niche. This is a connection with different parts. He says, from the food, the living being's existence is found. And food is found when rain falls on the ground. Rain comes from the sacrifice or yajna, and sacrifice originates through the works or karma. So this is a beautiful niche. A person from the environmental scientist had attended a previous session. He said, "Oh, this is exactly what we see: fire leading to evaporation of water, water bringing clouds, clouds bringing rain, rain again supporting plants, plants supporting animals. This is what we call the ecological niche. This is what connects the universe. A particular if I'm not mistaken, a general of a neighboring country, I will not want to name, but he tried to, he felt the production must increase in the fields also. All these sparrows are eating the field, whatever what is cultivated. We are losing a lot because of the sparrows. So he ordered that the sparrows be killed. That's a very silly and wrong and dirty thing to do. But out of greed, out of ahankar, he did that. And what happened? It was a great loss of crop because what did the sparrows do? They just did not only consume the, what we can say, dhanya or the grains, but they were also consuming the little insects and others which were in turn spoiling the grains. So immediately that country had to actually import. They had to import these birds afterwards because this is how they tried to create an imbalance. So this balance is there in the Srishti, but Yagna or the fire is also lit. But how is the fire lit? It is by karma only. Without karma, nothing can be lit. So the base of everything is karma, and we must become conscious when we are doing it. Krishna goes on. Karma brahmod bhavam vidhi. Brahmakshara samudbhavam. Tasmat sarvagatam brahma. Nityam yagnai pratishtitam. So you see that karma also begins from where? Well, from the creator, if you want to go to the source. So karma is born from Brahma, the progenitor. And who is Brahma from then? And Brahma of the formless, imperishable creator, Akshara, that which cannot be destroyed. And from that Akshara, from that high consciousness, came into being the consciousness of creation that we call Brahma. He is described in the Purana as a very old, ancient being having so many heads. But he has also originated from that supreme consciousness. And he says, really, this Srishti, or if you look at the creation, he says, thus the all-pervading Brahma is engaged in a state of sacrifice. The universe is arranged. Nityam Yagni Pratishtitam. Everywhere. Go out on the streets, you will see sacrifice happen. Any point, any moment, wherever you go, it is sacrifice. Right now, I am talking to you on the basis of sacrifice of so many scientists who have brought this platform to us. We are celebrating the free air of our nation because of what? So many youngsters sacrifice their lives for what? For the idea of freedom. They are not here today, but their idea of freedom is, isn't it? What they aspired for. And that was not a selfish aspiration. But this Srishti is run by sacrifice, is what Krishna says. Somebody says, I don't believe in sacrifice. Anybody, what will you say to such a person? I don't believe in sacrifice. Can someone tell me what will you say to such a person? Or what will you say? We should not say anything to anybody unless they ask us. So that is true. Krishna also follows that. He didn't say Bhagwad Gita until Arjuna told, please tell me. But what will you say of this perspective? What will you consider this perspective? I don't believe
Selfishness.
in. Okay, selfishness. But will that help the individual? a selfishness that will help, Payalji?
No, no.
No. Okay. All right. Shilpaji?
Maybe we can give an example of the farmer. If he doesn't give us the grains what he has took out, then we could have not had any food. That is the
Yes,
great
yes, yes.
sacrifice.
Yes. So the one is one, we have we have what we call a runa, a debt that we have to pay to so many, to the world that has given us this experience of existence also. And basically, without sacrifice, what's going to happen? Okay, a student says, I don't want to sacrifice enough. My sports teacher makes me run 4 rounds. I don't like these 4 rounds at all. But I want to become a player. Will it be possible? No, I have to sacrifice. I'll have to get some cramps in the stomach running and then overcome those cramps also. And yes, because that is how I'll progress. Otherwise, my stamina will not increase. I will not be able to move forward. This is the simple thing. It is not that a curse, Brahma is sitting, I sacrificed, now you didn't sacrifice, so I'm going to punish you. I am going to send a curse directly from the heavens. No, it's not that way. But it is this, the act of sacrifice helps us grow. And I think it was Sindhuji, I think, the joy of parenting as a sacrifice, which was shared. I do not remember. It was Shilpaji or Sindhuji, someone, or is it Renuji? I'm not remember. Yes, Shilpaji, right. Yes, so yesterday, the joy of sacrifice, something a parent would say, this was the most beautiful aspect. I didn't even feel it's a sacrifice because there was this experiencing of ananda, holding the child in the hands, watching the child take the first step, walking, so many little steps. These are all priceless moments of life. And they say, I will be able to sacrifice my entire life for again experiencing those moments or becoming conscious of those moments because they are that worth, they are that precious. So, this aspect of sacrifice is there in the world. Somebody who does not follow it will not be able to progress. It is a simple thing. It's not Krishna's curse that he says, you didn't follow, so I'm going to make you suffer. It's not that way. It's more of a cause and effect. Krishna says, Evam pravartitam chakram nanuvartaya tihayaha aghayo rindriya ramo mogham partha jivati. He who follows not this universe's wheel and succumbs to whatsoever his senses feel is based in his pursuit of sensual enjoyment. O Arjuna, such a life is but a wasted predicament. If somebody says, no, I don't believe in this sacrifice. I actually believe in bhoga only. My senses are everything. I have to run after my desires. Such a person, Krishna is saying, or such a life is actually a wasted predicament. A beautiful life that has been wasted in the wrong aspect. It's like a unnecessary investment in a place where you're not going to do anything productive. It is just like that. Because running after desires, we know that, isn't it? They don't get fulfilled. People say, I want this experience. This is beautiful. These desires make me what I am. This is the real meaning of life. But ultimately, that desire also, it's just like you're tasting something and not experiencing the taste only, truly. And again, the craving is remaining. Has anybody heard of Tantalus? Or have you heard of this word called tantalize in English? Tantalize. Yes, anyone?
It's a feeling.
Yes. Okay, it's a feeling. What type of feeling,
Means
Ji?
tantalizing means one which can excite you or give you happiness of some sort.
Actually, that is exactly not tantalizing, though. But what we can say that tantalizing defeat was experienced by a person, meaning he was
Okay,
so close to victory, he was so close to victory and yet missed it.
okay.
And there's a story of a character called Tantalus, a Greek character. He was punished by the gods because of the unpardonable crime that he did out of his, what we can say, anger and dvesha and jealousy to somebody else. He actually cuts off one person and then, because he knows that the gods will revive that person, he feeds the gods only in the feast so that person may not be removed. Like we can say, a unpardonable crime. So he gets a punishment that he is going to be hanging from the top by a thread, and under him would be all different foods. or the wine, everything that is there in the banquet. But they will be out of his reach. And he will be in that position only. And every time he would appear to go closer to it, if he stretches his hand, it appears to be very close. But every time he, like a Maya, if he stretches his hand, it will move away from him. So he'll never really understand. That will be the chance for introspection. They had some very cruel punishments. But this is a life of punishment if you run after desires, because every time you feel you are going to get it, chalo, I am the best. So you get you can say, I am the most, I am the, some people have even in food, I taste the best food. Suddenly the tongues start malfunctioning. What will happen then? Somebody's eyes are, they are very proud of their eyesight or something. Suddenly the eyesight goes. Does the individual cease to remain? No, it does not. No, not at all. Sometimes some people experience stroke. They lose their capacity. They lose their full capacity. But does that mean they cease to exist? No, they don't. I know of one person at 70, after fighting stroke for so many years, she's written her first book. And she's seen Krishna as a child. She's calling that book Child. That book is something of her experiences. So this is something when one hand only is working, the other hand she cannot move. All of the, but a person is much more than the desires, and desires are limited. And many times, what you desire today will not be what you will desire later on also. What you desire today, 20 years down the line, you might even laugh at as you get a maturity, a greater perspective, a greater realization. You say, this is not something I wanted. This was a wasted thing. When I was very young, I wanted to open a restaurant. Why? Because I can eat freely. Imagine what a what a silly thought that is. But that time it was so important for me because that was my consciousness at that time. Later on only, and I can understand there's nothing free like that. I'll have to invest in opening the restaurant instead of that, save that investment for all your free meals if that is the only objective. But this is what happens. Krishna says running after desire is a wasted predicament. Krishna goes on, Yastvatma rit Yastvatmaratireva Syad Atmapratascha Manavaha Atmanyaiva the Santushtaha Tasya Karyam Na Vidyate. This is the interest. But he who revels in the delight of the self and lives joyously, contented with the self, such an illumined and awakened person very joyfully exists. As his need for work to be done no longer persists. This person is in a state of Santosha, that the need for doing work, because every time I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do this, one feeling comes in. If I'm not doing this, I'm not doing anything creative or productive. Somebody had told me up to 23 is the age where you can maximum use your intellect. So you have to quickly achieve what you have to before this, otherwise time is ticking and after 23 nothing will work. For me, I don't know, my intellect has awakened at 34 also, or no, is a question mark. But there's no such time, that much I have understood. There's no ticking time like that. But we create that inside of us, that feeling. I have to, that feeling of urgency, that insecurity, that rush. But somebody who is trupta, isn't it? He is someone who is so quiet, he is not going to be driven by outer circumstances just to do something. He is there, he says, no, nothing needs to be done for me. But such a person ends up doing a lot of work. So many things. People take sannyasa also, and then they become the greatest, what we can say, after sannyasa, they are doing the greatest karma also. They're not withdrawing. But the need for doing that continuous desire I have to do to make my presence felt, that's not required at all. Many times we feel that, isn't it? I have to make my presence felt. You go to a party and you try to make yourself, you assert your presence. You wear the best clothes. Say, this dress nobody would have worn. Unfortunately, one more person wears the same dress. Khatam. Again, what this person is wearing. Or then you try to speak differently. But somehow that is not creating the impression, but something else. Without speaking, also just you are coming and going can create an impression if it has to. You don't have to run after that aspect only. The need for work is something for a yogi who has experienced this trupti of the self, who is able to understand, is experiencing the santosha. And many times we don't need so much. Yes, Chaitanya ji. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think when we say here need for work is probably it is a comparative when someone is trying to do better than someone else or trying to say that I mean doing faster or better. I mean it's kind of you are comparing your work with other person's work and trying to say that no, I am doing it. I want to do it better than his, or I want to do it before the other person. So when you are into that part, you are not maybe completely focusing upon how better you. I mean how best way you can do it. You're probably more trying to outrun the other person, and that is the kind of combustion I think Krishna is currently talking about. That you don't
Absolutely.
compare it with the others. You try to do it best way yourself, and then let
For
others thing
yourself.
go.
Yes, yes, so beautiful because you are completely you're experiencing like Santosha of yourself. You cannot be better than anybody, and you cannot be worse than anybody. You are you, and you cannot be somebody else's comparison. You cannot use that because many times we don't realize I want to be the best that I can be. I have to be the best of what is possible of me. I have to increase my possibilities. I have to create new possibilities, manifest new talents which are missing. All that is fine. But I can't have my aim that I will be better. That just depends on which pond you are in. You might be a big fish in one small pond. Tomorrow a big one comes, what's going to happen? All your life you have been trying to compare with this individual or this person only, and suddenly, अरे ये तो out of syllabus question आ गया. How do we deal with it? It's something like that. And Krishna says this person experiences Santosha because for him, naiva tasya krute nartho na krute neha kashana न चास्य सर्वभूतेषु कश्चित् अर्थव्य ashraya. Such a great one has nothing to be gained, neither in performing actions nor in inaction. Nothing exists thus in all of existence that can bind him with dependence. This is the beautiful aspect. This person has nothing to be gained, nothing to be lost because he is so confident. And nothing in the existence can bind him. Means you cannot bind such a person. Like they say, isn't it? Ramta jogi or behta pani. Koi rok nahi sakta. The yogi lost in the lay and the water that is flowing. Nobody can stop the flow of the water. Just like you cannot stop the lay of the yogi connected with the divine. He goes, he will move around with that consciousness. You cannot stop it. It's something like that. So Krishna says further, he says, तस्मादसक्तः सततं कार्यं कर्म समाचर असक्तो याचरन् कर्म परमाप्नोति पुरुषः. So, Krishna advises, perennially perform all of your actions. Detachedly fulfill the duties that life sanctions. For when man in detached action engages with his karma, he transcends the highest stages. So this is the power of karma that you are going to become free. Whatever mukta sangha samachara that Krishna talked about, well, that freedom has to be experienced. Damlaji had shared about his friend. He was just a few years elder to him. That friend was not in a, what we can say, a very good financial position and did not get to study too much. So he had to immediately go and start working. He would work in the lathe. And Damleji wanted to go and meet him, and his boss would call him. हाँ, yes, yes, आपको मिलने ये आए हैं. He was very surprised with the respect that his friend was getting. Generally, lathe operator is not given that much respect, isn't it? So then he asked him, "What? How is it? He felt so nice, so happy. He said, ए देख इतना काम करो कि तुम्हारा बॉस भी तुम्हारा गुलाम हो जाए." Means with your actions, do it so well. And who is the biggest boss we can say is the divine, isn't it? So do that much karma, well, God also will not say no. There's a Hindi phrase, isn't it? खुद को कर बुलंद इतना. Anybody knows of that? कि खुदा खुद आए और पूछे, बोल तेरी राय क्या है? What is it? What do you want? God is going to ask you because you have done so many karmas. Look at how Hanuman did with his bhakti. He bound Sri Ram with his bhakti, isn't it? Nobody could bind Sri Ram. So powerful, so strong. Yet with this karmas. So that is the power, and Krishna says such a person will be free. Nobody can bind him. And the 14th shloka, he says, Tasmad asakta satatam, remain balanced. Karyam karma samachara. Keep with the balance in good or bad. Detachedly perform all duties that life sanctions. Life sanctions unnecessary duties at us, isn't it? We feel unnecessary, but unexpected, yes. Anybody has experienced that? सब अच्छा चल रहा था, सडनली ये आके पूरा इक्वेशन बदल दिया. It happens from somewhere, unknown corner, sudden, like now somebody asked a question about loss, if somebody loss of a loved one. Where is it planned? How does anybody plan or prepare for loss of loved one? We cannot. Nobody ever wants it. And what happens is it suddenly, it's a shock. A shock comes from nowhere. What do we do at that time? Well, Krishna is saying that only very nearly perform whatever duties your life sanctions. Today, the life has sanctioned the duty of a Raja. I will do the duty of a Raja. Tomorrow, life has sanctioned the duty of a sweeper. I will do that duty because we have to deal with balance, whatever, because life throws things at us which we are not fully confident of or we are not aware of. We have to perform our duties detachedly because Krishna says, when man in detached action engages with his karma, he transcends the highest stages. The karma only, pushes a person ahead. And where can one person rise ahead? Anywhere, any place. No work is small work, no work is big work. All works are karma only when done consciously. We have seen earlier, Swalpamapyasya dharmasya, Trayate Mahato Vayat. In Karma Yoga, smallest action done in a right manner can protect from the greatest danger. Little action also. Little action done consciously. So that is what Krishna is saying. Many times we get a feeling, how do I motivate myself if I'm not able to get something in return? Because that is a conditioning we have all got. Do this, so you get this in return. How did these yogis do? Because yogis have been spending their time years and years. They do tapa. One tapa of yogi is 12 years. And probably when the great yogis meet, I have completed 2 tapa. I have completed 3 tapa. How is it that we find it difficult to do 12 minutes one work with consistency? And these people are spending 12 years, 24 years doing this, the same thing. How is it? Some motivation must be there, isn't it? Some drive must be there. What is that drive if it is not desire? What is that drive if it is not something which is adding? Many times people feel adding my bank balance is going to be the drive. It will give me satisfaction. And there's a very rich man in Africa. So much money he had into his account that he felt sick because he's not experiencing that wealth. It's now only zeros are getting added into his bank account. So he started a new ritual. Every year, under security, he would go withdraw the money, bring it to his house, touch and feel the money, and next day again deposit into the bank. Now that's his way. He feels that is going to give him satisfaction. But I'm not sure if that will also give satisfaction. Because after a point, it doesn't make a difference. It is really just zeros getting added. You are going to eat as per your capacity, which is finite. You have 15 bungalows. You can't live in all 15 bungalows at one time. 100 cars. You can drive one only at a time. So there are limitations of a human everywhere. That cannot change. So what is it that is driving the yogis? That is our concern because yogis have shown and Krishna gives examples. Whose example do you think Krishna will give? Vyasa, the great one who is already has compiled the Vedas, or there are so many rishis that Krishna can give. He gives an example to Arjuna. Become like this. So getting a recommendation from Krishna, who is this great one? Let us see. Karmanaiva hi sansiddhim asthita janakadayaha lokasangrahamevapi sampashyan kartumarhasi. He gives the example of a king, of a Raja Janaka. He says, King Janaka and the rest attained perfection only through their works and liberated action. Detached actions for the sake of the world are best. This is said to be the true yogic way by the wisest. So Krishna says, look at King Janaka. And there were many like him, what we call Jivan Muktas. This King Janaka and the others, how did they get this perfection or whatever siddhi, which we call Naishkarmya siddhi? How did they rise? And Krishna says this only, Loka Sangraha, betterment of the world. Detached actions for Loka Sangraha. That is said to be the yogic way. This simple aspiration to make the world better. Is there a limit to making the world better? No, there is no limit. And making the world better can start by cleaning your room or your backyard also, isn't it? From there, from the smallest to the biggest transformation, and your motivation is actually, if you are able to connect with this shloka, you have for yourself in life got an endless drive of inspiration, an inspiration which will never get over to make the world a better place. But a lot of people think if you read the Gita or if you follow spiritual principles like we saw in the start of the Adhyaya, that this is different, spiritual life is like different, material life is different. But that is not the case. Krishna is giving the example of a Raja, isn't it? Raja is living a material life also, and yet a spiritual life at the same time. So you don't have to be a monk selling your Ferrari, isn't it? If you can be one in the Ferrari. Yes or no? That is what our Sanatana Dharma is saying. A lot of great ones, unnecessarily, they gave away all their wealth. And where did the wealth go? To the Asuras. Now what can we do then? Now the good people have to now reclaim the force of Mahalakshmi, which has gone into the wrong hands. That has to be done. We need rich, good people. As Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj was called, Shrimanta Yogi, Nishchayacha Mahameru, बहुत जनाचे आधारू अखंड स्थितीचा निर्धारू असा श्रीमंत योगी, meaning he was like a mountain of determination, a great Mahameru of determination. At a young age he started a campaign, just a band of young boys, challenging the great Aurangzeb. Even in dreams people could not think of it. Of course, Aurangzeb was not great. I meant great in the sense of his, what we can say, vastness of army. That's all, but not by his deeds. So he, he was that peak of determination. Nishchaya Mahameru. बहुत जना से आधार, who is the support. Chhatrapati means the one who is giving the chhatra to so many people. He was that great one. Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, as he's called. And determination was so great, it was akhanda inside of him. He decided, and yes, he conquered. And such was the Shrimanta Yogi, the one sitting on the Suvarna throne, on the golden throne. He was a yogi. When he got the kingdom also, he went and offered it to his guru. That was a beautiful thing. He offered it entirely. And his guru also, he said, yes, I will take it. Now you function as my regent. What will the Guru? Guru is also not having anything. He is just having what we can say a kamandalu and his vastra that he is wearing on. That's all. Ramdas Swami, Samartha Ramdas Swami. What would he want? But no, he did not want that ahankar inside of him. He said, yes, I will take this offering of yours. But now you remember, you are my pratinidhi. You are my representative and become the ruler as my representative. So this is exactly what we understand. King Janaka and all of them, they are a source of inspiration for all of us. Our society, our world needs to be driven by so many such heroes only. Yes, business is important, even in the spiritual world. It is important. The ethics are important, and they create a great difference also. I had a chance of meeting a businessman who has transformed the landscape of Surat. Govind Bhai Dholakia, if you have heard of him, is a biography written about him. It is Diamonds Are Forever, So Are Morals. It's very beautiful what work he has done. And that is all just by determination and aiming. And all the people at his place, they are like his family members only. Whatever profits he distributes among his people, including cars. He had come in the news where he bought cars for all of his most of his employees. Well, what we have to understand is Loka Sangraha is the aim. Loka Sangraha is the aim of the yogi. The Loka Sangraha aim is the aim that can be experienced by each and every one. What was Dr. Abdul Kalam's mother doing when she was raising her son in the village? She did not have access to great words of, we can say, saints, or she did not, maybe she might have had access, but she didn't have the education which we call formal education of graduation, post graduation, all of it. But she wanted to do Loka Sangra and create a child who is going to have a universal perspective when he grows up. And did that not happen? And did that not happen because Dr. Kalam rose so many? Even in my village, there's a juice seller. He has a photo of Dr. Kalam, sir. He does pratna to that and starts his day. He's never met, he's never read anything, but no, that figure has become pujaniya for him in his heart. Because this is how we should be. Loka Sangra will make us evolve. That is what Krishna talks about. He goes on further. Why? Why should you be like that? Nobody is like that in my workplace. Nobody is that way in my what we can say, in my entire company of friends. Everybody is swarthy, everybody is thinking of self. Why? What will I do? Well, it is for them also you have to do that. Because Krishna says, Yad yad acharati shrestha tat tad deve taro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokas tadanu vartate. Whatever the actions the best amongst men perform, the other men seek to imitate. Whatever standard he sets as the norm, the world tries to follow and emulate. It says, become the standard. You become that gold standard for others to follow. Because whatever the best do, that is imitated. People try to become like that. This is a nature. And so you set the example. Many times in many projects, the team leader is like this, and one person, team leader is also not having a lot of inspiration. Looking at him, other people are also not having any inspiration to do anything. But then there is one person who is pushing the entire project ahead by his actions. But slowly that actions, no, others may feel what useless, because why is he doing all of this? But no, slowly those actions rub off onto others also. And this not only grows the individual, but it sets an example. I want to be like this person. So in your kshetra, you must try to become the example. Not for impressing another person, but for Loka Sangraha. Let me try. My own betterment will take place. When I raise the bar, what's going to happen? People will also try to do the same thing. Krishna goes on. He gives another example for us to. So, the first example we have received is become like Janaka, this great king who was detached from his wealth, and yet he was very much concerned about every subject. It is always better, it's always good to have a ruler who has no attachments and is caring, because that way you cannot corrupt that ruler with desires or attachments, and that kingdom can really experience what was, can say, Janaka's Rajya. That experience can be got. So here now Krishna says next example. This is Krishna only. His own example he sets. This also indicates that we all can try to become like Krishna. Let's not push him away so far from us. Many times people have Bhagwad Gita in their house, they do puja, but they don't read it. They don't read the book. It is important to respect it, to worship it. It is important, more important to read it also. And more important than reading is to practice it. Because even without practicing, you can keep reading 100,000 times. But that will be of no use until you bring it into acharan. Because Krishna is also saying that, isn't it, in the shloka? Yat yat acharati shreshtaha. Follow, follow. One relative of mine had told me, why are you reading the Gita now? It's not the time. You should be dating Gita. I did not feel anything like that. I felt it was okay. I just laughed and I joked. But now that same person is discussing. Now it's 10 years down the line, 10, 11 years down the line. He's now discussing the Gita with me. Now, isn't that a big transformation? Otherwise, he felt this was absolutely useless. This is no use, not now, after retirement, when you're not having work. That is when you have to do. It's not like that. There's no retirement also. One person's work never gets over. The karmas are always there, and you have to become conscious. That's what Krishna says. He goes on. Name parthasti kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana nana vaptam vaptavyam varta eva cha karmani. Oh Arjuna, I have no duties to discharge. towards the peoples of all three worlds at large. There is nothing I haven't gained or seek to gain, and yet I perform my duties, come sun or rain. Krishna says, I don't need to be this Sarathi here. I don't need to be the mediator to go and broker a peace between two parties who are much less in military might compared to me. And I do not need this war, like Arjuna was accusing him that did you want wealth? If you wanted wealth, his Narayani Sena is there, isn't it? Only a portion is available for this battle. But if the Narayana wishes, he can unleash. His Sudarshan Chakra is described like a thousand suns. That powerful it is. That nuclear weapon is already with him. He didn't have to even release it. He just shows it also. People will immediately surrender. But no, he says, I have no duties to discharge towards all the peoples. There is nothing I haven't gained or I seek to gain. Yet I perform my duties, comes sun or rain. So he says, Krishna says, I perform my duties even though I have nothing to gain. Why? It is for Loka Sangraha, for the betterment of the world. I have to set the example. I have to raise. Imagine Krishna does one wrong thing. What will we say? Everybody can say, yes, Krishna has done it, so it's all right. Or we can also follow it's all right, it can be done. No, Krishna says, I have to set the standard. So at times, he could not meet Radha also when he most wanted it. Means what is Shreyas and what is Preyas? Well, what a difficult moment. Then he goes running to meet Radha, but it becomes too late, for she has already left. But the great one who could have changed all the rules, he says, no, I am also bound by these rules of Srishti. I will follow them, though I can break them. Though I am capable enough, I am not going to break. He goes on further. Why? He says, Yadi yaham nak varteyam jatu karmanya tandritaha mama vartamanu vartante manushyaha partha sarvashaha. If I did not meticulously perform my every action and lead by example in every respect, he already knew. People will just say Krishna's name and many will start offering lip service and just do whatever they want. So he said, if I did one wrong action also, it would lead to bad consequences. He says, for if I did not meticulously perform my every action and lead by example in every aspect, O Arjuna, all men would follow likewise and ape my path in every respect. They would follow, they would just follow me and follow that what wrong I have done. Because it is easily attractive, no? What is wrong is easily followed. Experiment was done. One person had this parrot. It was always using swear words. And the other person had a parrot which was having very nice words which would repeat good words. So he said, let's bring some good sanskara on the bad parrot. So they kept the bad parrot in the same cage as the good parrot. What happened? Both ended up using swear words. So it is easy. It is easy to not set the standard. It is easy to do what we can say. Very selfish actions are not difficult at all, isn't it? It just can be done like that. But no, Krishna says, I will work and I will set the example that I want people to follow. Because if I don't, they will follow me. And what will happen if everybody follows wrong actions in the society? It will lead to destruction of society. It will lead to chaos. He goes on further. Utside yurime loka na kuryam karma chedaham sankarasya chakarta syamupahanyami nimah prajaha. Now we see a scary side of Krishna. Everybody knows only the sweet side of Krishna. Here he says, for if I were not to follow this path of action, the people shall follow suit and sink to destruction. I would become the perpetrator of pandemonium and then have to slay them all for the opprobrium. I'll have to become the destroyer because the society can no more be changed. Then I'll have to put the reset button. It is Krishna will have to do that role if I do not. So he says, I don't want to go on that route at all. That is why I keep doing the works with the aspiration that people will also keep doing their right works because this is the way of liberation. Krishna goes on, he says, Saktaha karmanya vidvanso yatha kurvanti bharata kuryat vidvans tatha saktas chikirshur lokasangraham. So there are two, as Krishna also told, isn't it, previously, Vyavasayatmika buddhi, avyavasayatmika buddhi. Two perspectives. One is day for one person, one is night for the other person. So they are going to dwell. We are going to dwell in the same world. But Krishna says, look at this. Just, oh Arjuna, just as the men of ignorance perform their actions, all engrossed in attachment, so too the wise remain motivated as a norm to better the world by their works in detachment. If you see the one who is attached to desires, what does he run after? His desires only. So you can easily have identified the sutra of that individual desire. That's the biggest vulnerability. You know this person is running after desires, so that will be yours. Many times biggest scientists are trapped. Their science is too great. Their knowledge is too great. They do the greatest discoveries. They're part of some of the most biggest, defense developments, which are actually state of the art, which world has not seen. But they are not Jitendra. So they get honey trapped, and then the secrets are revealed. Very recently in Pune, one big scientist, he was shamed because what happened was he got trapped and that got revealed, and also the world came to know about it. And the most sad aspect was he was in charge of a program which says how to not get trapped like this. He's handing certificates to people who are completing that workshop, and he himself got trapped in that same thing. What has happened here? It is the desire. So the person who wanted to ensnare him had understood that this person's vulnerability is this desire. So you used that desire against him, and that led to his downfall. So they are attached to desires. But the one who is selfless, the one who are the ones who are wise, what do? They have a motivation, but it is not desire. It is locus sangraha at all times. There's no limit. Like an artist does a beautiful picture and then says, no, I want to better the picture. No, this little bit, let me shade this shade. Yahan pe, no, wait. There was a beautiful Bhagwad Gita exhibition, and the artist who was the organizer was also displaying her art. Everybody had submitted, and the exhibition is going to start in 30 minutes. She's still working on the painting which was completed. I was supposed to hang it along with her. She said, wait 1 minute. And she's picking out some more colors and trying to make it look better. Nobody else would know how much effort she has taken on the inside, or adding this slight shade, will it make a difference? But no, it does make a difference. And somebody who is wise, they understand that, and that is why they are driven by Loka Sangraha. One small question, and we look at one more shloka and we'll stop because it's a very important shloka, the 26th shloka. Now we saw two perspectives. One is a selfish perspective, one is a selfless perspective. If you want to say, one is like the Duryodhana, another is like Arjuna. My question is, can they coexist together without Mahabharata? Yes, Chaitanya?
Yes, I think, see, this is like, we can say it is symbolic at different types in different, I mean, different times in different situations. We ourselves can experience it at something that we behave really good at, and then something we are not so good at, or maybe not doing it in a best way. So, or doing it something selfishly. I mean, it can happen even within a person, because not necessary that you
Okay.
have overcome every desire, or,
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I meant no, because he generally overall, no, because Arjuna also he's having an overall stamp of what we can say somebody who's receptive to the Gita. That's why Krishna is giving him the Gita. Duryodhana actually went out to try to arrest Krishna. He ordered his army कि चलो इसको ये आ गया है mediator बन के तो इसको अंदर डालो. Then Krishna had to give him that darshana, which had to shake him, and then quickly he had to go in, because overall, because we see Devi Swabhava, Asuri Swabhava in the Gita, later on it will come. Overall, one Swabhava is there, and another Swabhava is also there. But how do we can we coexist with different individuals? I'm saying in your say among your friends, among your colleagues, among your families. Friends can sometimes be changed, colleagues can be changed. Family, we cannot exchange or change, isn't it? नहीं मुझे ये वाले अंकल पसंद नहीं है, मुझे exchange offer में बदल दो. Cannot do that. So how? What is it? Then is it going to lead to Mahabharata only? Because Arjuna and Krishna together, it will always be a Mahabharata then. So Krishna offers the next shloka. It is very beautiful. If we understand it in spirit, this will really, really help us. It is Na buddhi bhedam. This is the mantra of Krishna. Na buddhi bhedam. जनयेद अज्ञानाम कर्म संगिनाम जोशयेत सर्व कर्माणि विद्वान युक्ता समाचरण. How does one operate? Well, without creating a divide in the ignorant mind. One mind is an ignorant mind, the one running after desires, no? It is truth. The person may be very smart, wise, everything, but this part is not wise at all in the action of running after desire. So we can call such a person, just for not calling him out that way, to ourselves for analyzing, an ignorant mind which is running after desire. Without creating a divide in the ignorant mind, a middle path the intelligent mind finds. He gets the right work done from the attached, despite his remaining fully detached. Because when you collaborate, you have to collaborate with all types of people also. When Loka Sangra is your sutra, you want the work to go ahead. For making the work to go ahead, understand the attachment. It is like how a donkey in cartoons, we see a carrot hanging from a thread on front of a big stick. So a person sits on the donkey and keeps that stick in front. What happens? The donkey feels I'm running after that carrot and so keeps moving forward. What does the person want? The donkey to move forward. So it has gone ahead because of the desire. Work has gone ahead, isn't it? It is something like that. Na buddhi bhedam, meaning don't create a divide in the mind. You go and tell a selfish person you are selfish. Will he give you an award? No, you are going to invite more trouble. It's like, aap bail mujhe maar. You don't have to say that to a person. But don't create a divide because until a person is ready, he will not understand. Krishna didn't create buddhi bhed in Arjuna in the first adhyaya. Until Arjuna said, Shishyasteham shadi mam tvam prapannam. I want to learn from you, you please teach me. Only then Krishna started parting this wisdom. He didn't want to create a divide because until the mind is ready, you cannot. So you don't try to change another person's mind. Instead, try to identify, chalo, this person is driven by this. He is driven by Swartha. I am driven by Niswartha. Find the middle path. You also want this, I also want this. Let us both work. You may work selfishly, I'll work selflessly, but our goal is one, find that path and move ahead. This is very important in management also. Otherwise, you cannot brainwash people. That is the truth. Each person will understand what they want to understand. Each person will have a perspective. Each person will have a baggage behind that perspective. We are nobody to sit and judge about it. But instead, if you find the middle path without creating divide, great works can be done. My staff was not willing to do a work. She was feeling something about, no, I will spoil it. I'm not capable of it, and extra. And I knew under the cover, it is just laziness. She's just trying to say that I do not want to do it. I actually said, let us do it. We'll have samosa party for everybody. Everybody got it just because this person did the work once. Everybody was enjoying it. She was also a little embarrassed, but also laughing and happy about it. But now every time she does the work, it's not the same thing. That way, I will have to open a samosa center only then to give to pander to her desire. It was not like that, but at least the work went ahead. Otherwise, this work would have got stopped. This person had to do the job, but the person was not willing. So somehow a middle path was identified. This is the way to go ahead. Like this is something which is very essential, and this is what a yogi is also able to do without creating a bhed in the buddhi. You are able to go ahead because sutra is common. Loka sangraha, betterment of the world. Identified. That person may be doing out of swartha. You follow with your niswarthata, but don't go on trying to create a divide in the mind because that will create. We'll see later on in the Gita also. That creates a great problem later on. Buddhi bhed is not required. You want to transform somebody? Let your karmas transform the person, not your words or your advice or trying to purposely try to tell something to someone. Have you experienced this? You try to say something nice to somebody, but they don't want to listen to it. No matter how eloquently you speak, it does not work. Anybody? Have you experienced this? Yes? You tried to help someone who needs the help, but the person does not know that the person needs the help. Does it work if you give the help also?
No, it doesn't work.
No, doesn't work. Even the divine may send a vibhuti of himself directly to send an Ashirwad. But this person will say, Ashirwad mujhe mat dena, mujhe ye dena. So the hand has come up to give the Ashirwad and it goes back because he says, nahi nahi mujhe ye dena, ye chahiye abhi. So this aspect is there. So our job is not to create divide. It's an important principle. We stop here only today's session. But without bhed in buddhi, let the work go ahead. Our aim is Loka Sangra. Let us have that aim. That is the aim. Who knows? We may become like Krishna only because Krishna says, what you follow, you become. And he has given the example. He's not saying, I want you all to be away from me. He says, you become like me. He says first Janaka and then his example. So with this, we can conclude today's session. If somebody can summarize something, you are welcome. And then we will conclude with the Shanti Mantra. Yes, please, anybody. Chaitanya ji is doing it perfectly every time, but I think that does not mean Chaitanya ji has to do it all the time also. He's liking it, so it's good. We are also welcome, but let us all also try. Yes, please. Anybody? Because no bandhana. It should happen freely. We are talking about the same thing. Yes, please. Anyone? Hariom? Yes, sir. Ramesh ji. You were saying something? Yes,
Hariom,
sir.
Hariom ji. Today's
Yes,
session
sir.
talks about the sacrifice to be made. Okay.
Ji, sir.
For example, Krishna cites the example of the food grains that I need to produce. It is because of the
Yes.
sacrifice, and that is because Havan is done, the yagna is done, and that results
Yes,
in the
sir.
form of a cloud, and then you have rains, and then it is able to feed us. Then Krishna further gives certain examples of this King Janaka, who selflessly, tried to, rule his kingdom and
Yes.
thereby setting an example and standard for himself. Krishna further goes on to add and say that, he gives his own example only. Like in this battle for this, he is doing his actions though he doesn't need to do it. And he
Yeah.
sets example. And if he sets a wrong example, people will follow the wrong example only. And if you sets a proper example or a good example, people are bound to follow in the path of righteousness. That is what is summary in brief.
Ji, sir. Ji, sir. So exactly. And while doing this, there will be people of two perspectives. The one who are going to be driven by desires will run after desires. You cannot talk selflessness to them. You cannot give the virtue of selflessness. They will explain to you the virtue of selfishness if you try to explain that to them. That is different. And your aim is not to change anybody, but your aim is to do work. Your aim is to better the world. The world, they also belong to the world, isn't it? Can we eliminate people from the world? No, we cannot. And whatever has to happen will happen naturally. You don't have to. Many parents want children to leave the Gita. Unfortunately, children they want them to read the Gita, but they are not able to even see that my parent is not living the Gita. After reading the Gita, if you become like this, then I don't want to read Gita. I have heard this dialogue. They have taken it out on the Gita because the person is not practicing the principle. So this aspect of practicing your acharan is important. It is very, very important. Personally, for me, I have identified one or two shlokas of the Bhagavad Gita, and my aspiration is, chalo, in this janma, if I can live those two shlokas only, my janma is sarthak. Moksha, mukti, all of that, fine, no problem. He doesn't give me mukti or moksha, no problem. I'll come again next, but thoda sabun slow hai, something like that. It works slowly for me, probably. It's fine. But the aspect of acharan, that is why today's Gita in Karma Krishna has talked about acharan, because unless it comes into manifestation in your practice, it is no use. High and lofty thoughts, if they don't have a base on the ground, it's like constructing a skyscraper without having a strong plinth. The building will collapse sooner or later. So Krishna says, let the acharan be there without creating a bhed in anybody's mind. No need to create bhed. Not at all required. Instead, focus on the karma. So with this, let us conclude with the Shanti Mantra, after which if any queries are there, you are most welcome. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kasyit dukkha bhag bhavet. Hari Om Tat Sat. Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. Jai Shri Krishna. Hari Om. Milama, we'll meet on next Monday now. Weekend, we do not have session. If anybody does want to have a discussion on Sundays, there is a meeting which takes place but at 6:30 to 7:30 every Sunday in the morning. It's about anything, any question related to the Gita and related to practice of it. So if anybody wishes, this week's question has not yet been finalized. Though I request it before, I always get it on Saturday evening only. But if anybody wishes, that link is the same link which we are having now in our group. So it will be a discussion session where other participants who are a part of a group called Delight Family who have completed the Gita workshop, they also join whenever they are free. So if you're interested, this Sunday you can join. Otherwise, our next session will be on Monday. All right. Hari Om.
So that is a recorded session, Bhaiya? The session
No,
which you
Jay, no,
on
that is a live. No, it is it's the same live on Zoom. It happens.
Yes,
Recording
but
also takes place. It gets recorded, but there they have voted for Facebook, so I have to live stream it there. But I'll try to download it and put it on YouTube as well.
yes,
Yes,
Bhaiya.
yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Hari Om.
Hari.
Hari Om. Hari Om. ji.
Hari
Namaskar.
Om.
Hari Om. ji.
Hari Om, sir.
Hari Om. ji. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om.